call this meeting to order, and if we can all rise for the pledge. And can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Clark, Vice Chair McGill,
Here.
Commissioner Baker, here. Commissioner Longstreet,
Here.
Commissioner Martinez-Cohen, Commissioner Perry,
Yep.
Commissioner Lesner-Buxton.
You.
Okay, and Director Zachary, I believe we have a couple changes to the agenda.
That's correct. Chair McGill, we will take the Library Plaza item at the December meeting.
Okay, and we have one written communication, but I believe it's associated with a public comment that we're about to have, so everybody should have a copy of that. And so we can move on to public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not scheduled for a public discussion before the commission. The total amount of time for public comments will be 15 minutes, and we have 3 public comments. And first person is Gail Osherenko. Ms. Osherenko, when you get up there, you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners, for allowing me the time to speak to you today. I'm here with 2 other fellow swimmers. I swim 5 days a week at Los Baños del Mar, and I'm here to talk to you about the planned splash playground at West Beach, because I park on Cabrera when I come in the morning, and I walk under 7 Italian ficus trees to get to the pool. And I'm a filmmaker. I've given you a copy of my written testimony, which I may not follow exactly. I've also given you a sheet that is a kind of compilation of data, mostly from the breeding bird surveys for Santa Barbara County related to the black-crowned night herons and snowy egrets that nest in those 7 trees. They come in March. They leave sometime in September. The official Audubon count of nests in mid-June was 33 nests, 10 snowy egret nests, and 23 black-crowned night heron nests. The birds keep coming in. I think it's a low count, but it's an official count. They can't count a nest. They can't see a bird in or on or right next to. If it doesn't appear active, and when they're that far up, you can't really see them. Anyway, I started filming the birds there because I like to film birds. I've made several films that have been shown at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival. I hope to have one on these birds in the next festival. It will be a short film. Hope to show it to you sometime. But I became really concerned when I started to film, because first thing I heard was that the city's planning to put in a splash playground there. And I kept going, really?
So you
right
are
next to these birds?
So you're actually out of time, so if you could just maybe
Okay,
cut to
so
the chase.
I just wanted, I know this issue may not come back to you. It's been with you when it was with you before, when it was with Harbor Commission, and when the city approved $152,000 to plan it, they were not told about the birds. And the birds are a huge issue for health reasons, for safety reasons, for the birds. And so I want you to know, I've made the film. I'm available to talk to any of you. I've already talked to Ms. Longstreet, and we have lots of information to share.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, and Ms. Gail Ward.
Hello. I'm a longtime resident of Santa Barbara, and 40 years ago, I loved using that wading pool with my children. That was 40 years ago. There weren't any ficus trees and nesting birds there. And now the wading pool is an eyesore that needs a very thoughtful change to occur. And so I wanted to make sure to put the input there is, I love the idea of splash pools. I've seen them around the country. They just sound like great fun, but not right there. And the reason I say that is having young grandchildren, you've got strollers, you have umbrellas, you have beach blankets, you have picnics, all those things that you need to have easy access to a splash pool where you're going to put down your roots, say, for an hour or so in the afternoon, and there's no accessible parking. So I'm just coming here to talk about parking. That if you had a drop-off area, that would be great. Then you could park farther away, but now it's blocked off at least once a week for a lot of the year, especially in the summertime, by the cruise ships. So we don't have access to Cabrillo Boulevard parking, and there's no beach parking close by for that. I think it should be in another location. Geez, Lower State Street doesn't have to be on the beach. I also have a soft spot for those herons. They are messy, they are squawky, they are beautiful, and we just are blessed that they've one spot in Santa Barbara where they have decided to find their forever home. So think about the parking issue. It's really a great spot for something other than an empty pool. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Catherine Bose.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'm Catherine Bose, and my viewpoint comes from 3 different areas. Number one, I am one of the swimmers and has been for 45 years, and I'm very familiar with the birds and what happens to you if you park along that street and try and run under those trees, which of course these people will be doing. It's not a lot of fun. The second thing is, as a pharmacist, I am concerned about the transmission of disease in that spot. I understand that there are some plants that it uses recycled water, which if anybody had done the research, they could see that in other areas in the United States, that spawns disease from the children one to the other. They have to use fresh water, and it seems to me that's pretty excessive in Santa Barbara. And the third is, as a retired lawyer, the issue of the disease can be a big if you use recycled water, or, as we all know, the birds are beautiful, but birds are also at times vectors for disease. It's a huge liability issue for Santa Barbara. So I don't know if those things have been thought about, but in the planning, they should think about them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, that, I saw another one come in. Is that for a tree? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, thank you very much for your input, all of you. That takes us to the Youth Council report. Do we have someone?
Hi, I am Tim, and I am
Tim
a
what?
member, Tim Chow.
Thank you.
And I'm a member of the Santa Barbara Youth Council, and today I'm just gonna give you guys a report on what we've been doing and how the Candidates Forum went. So we partnered up with the Santa Barbara County Teen Network and the St. George Youth Center, YMCA, and Future Leaders of America, and we hosted the Candidates Forum. We had over 55 submitted questions, and all 8 candidates attended. Though we had less people in the audience than we wanted, we had some success getting feedback on a Google Doc and having many youth answer and ask questions. And we had positive media coverage from KUYT and Santa Barbara City College's news channel. And finally, we're currently working on a final draft of the anti-vaping PSA, and we're getting help from Councilmember Gutierrez, and he's helping us do edits on that. And today, Council members Julia Minor and Layla Goodman are on a trip with Isis Castañeda. They're in San Antonio for the National League of Cities Conference, which is why I'm here. So, yeah, this is pretty nerve-wracking first time, but please follow us on social media at Santa Barbara Youth Council, Instagram or Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, City Hall or San Antonio, I don't know, what's the better choice? Thank you very much, and also thank you for hosting the Candidates Forum. I mean, it's good to see the Youth Council getting that involved with civics, at an early age, so appreciate that very much. And so that takes us to Commission and Staff Communications. Thanks, Jill. I'm sorry, Committee Assignments, I skipped one. Shall we start with you, Commissioner Perry?
This past month, Arts and Crafts canceled their meeting, so there was none to attend.
Okay. Commissioner Longstreet?
I do believe Commissioner Perry attended the De La Guerra Plaza meeting, though.
Yes.
And I did not. I was unable to make it, so he represented Parks and Rec. I've attended 2 Sea Level Rise subcommittee meetings. The draft vulnerability study is moving along and probably will be introduced to the public in the spring. I also attended the Parks and Recreation staff breakfast, and it was a great affair and honored our hard-working employees, and we are very proud of them. So that was a great event. Thank you for allowing us to attend.
Thank you. Commissioner Lesnar Buxton?
I also attended the staff breakfast. Great event. Thank you again. And I attended the youth council meetings, and they were great as always.
Thank you. And finally, Commissioner Baker?
The Golf Advisory Committee did not meet this month, but we have rain on the forecast. I believe it was drizzling, so which means the course is going to be green, so get out there and golf.
And the Park Foundation meeting was supposed to be today, but was canceled, and so we are rescheduled for after Thanksgiving. Okay, now we move on to Commission and Staff Communications. Anything? No? Okay. We do, however, have some recognitions that we would like to have. So we have 2. We have 2 speakers. First, I believe the first is the Mission City Church, yes?
Yes, Chair Miguel and Commissioners, Julie Thomas from our Recreation Adaptive Programs is going to do the initial presentation.
Good evening, Vice Chair McGill. Thank you for being here tonight and overseeing the proceedings, and fellow commissioners. I am very pleased to recognize Mission City Church for its commitment and support for our Adapted Recreation Program dances, extravaganza event, and also the Recreation After School programs. Mission City Church is very new to Santa Barbara. They're in their first year, and in that year, they've made an extremely positive impact on parks and recreation programs by providing volunteers at all 3 of our adapted recreation dances, Halloween, Valentine's, and also Spring Fling, which is a dinner dance. The Mission City volunteers always jump right in to assist staff with setup, decorating, dancing with participants, and basically transforming city facilities into a fun dance club type environment. And they do it very seamlessly. Mission City Church provided a team of volunteers to help with the annual extravaganza, which is a long-time tradition here in Santa Barbara, where children and families come together to celebrate spring with an egg hunt and meet and greet with important guests, such as the mayor and, of course, the Easter Bunny. And they always help create a welcoming environment for everyone involved. One of the things that is amazing about Mission City is that they believe strongly in giving back to the community. They have provided generous donations through Parks and Recreation, one which helped underwrite the cost of our DJ services that we provide at our adapted recreation dances, which we could not do without. You'll hear more about that in a moment. And another which purchased arts and crafts materials, board games, and scholar hour supplies at our recreation after-school programs that were much needed. So I'm here to tell you that Mission City Church is truly making a difference in the community and for the individuals that these programs serve. We appreciate their support and dedication in partnering with both the Adapted Recreation Program and the Youth Activities section, because we're able to really enhance and continue to provide these amazing opportunities to people of all abilities in Santa Barbara. Thank you. Yeah, we celebrate loud. We're going to give the next report, and then we'll present their certificates. No. Oh, sorry.
So the next recognition is of Chris Benedict.
Correct. I'm going to introduce the Supervisor of Youth Activities and Adapted Programs, Adam Porte.
Vice Chair McGill, Commissioners, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm very proud to introduce Chris Benedict, a remarkable man that has devoted his life to make a difference in the world and the lives of others as a DJ, public speaker, disability advocate, and more. Chris's love for the DJ profession began when he was in 9th grade and his teacher asked him to DJ a class dance party. Now 20 years of providing DJ services, Chris has been the DJ of ability since then. So this is his 20th year in the profession. Chris is a staple in the Santa Barbara community. If you have ever seen Chris around town, you have probably seen a crowd of people around him. People are attracted to him because of his electric personality and his great sense of humor. I'm sure we can owe some of that to the popularity of his adorable dog, Belle, who he brings almost everywhere with him. Chris is a true professional in all aspects of his profession. He has state-of-the-art equipment that he uses. He brings an entourage of people with him to help him set up his equipment. And he can really get the crowd moving. For the past 4 years, Chris has graciously subsidized his services for the Adapted Recreation annual dances, as Julie stated earlier, the Valentine's Day dance, the Spring Fling, and the Halloween dance. The department appreciates Chris's partnership and his unwavering support of Adapted Recreation Program's mission to provide enriching opportunities for individuals of all abilities. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
We would like you guys to come up to the podium, and we have a certificate for you.
and I would just like to say this is, I think it's one of the TV stations has one of these things about what's right about Santa Barbara and what's right about our city. And it's not just beaches and palm trees and mountains. It's the people that make the city, and it's really. I'm very proud and very excited to be recognizing this kind of commitment to the community. So thank you very much. Chris Benedict, DJ of Ability, for his dedication and unwavering support of Adapted Recreation Program dances, serving hundreds of participants of all ages and abilities for the Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If I may, I'm going to invite up some people. West, Jim Cutzinger, Bill York, without these people, I couldn't do what I do. Pete's my running guy, Jim's my roadie and sound tech, and Bill is, well, whatever I need him to do. Not lighting and stuff, tear down. So thank you all for all your help. Oh, and my dad behind me.
Mission City Church, also for its commitment to and support of adaptive recreation program dances, Extravaganza, and the Recreation After School Program, RAP, from the Parks Recreation. And obviously, a new member of the community as a church, and you'd certainly come in with a bang.
Well, thank you very much. It's our pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I think as Chair McGill stated, it's the Parks and Recreation Department can't do these programs without the support of the community. There's only, so much budget, and there's so many things that we need to do and we want to do. And so thank you all for making it happen.
Ready to move on to summary of council actions. Director Zachary, is there anything to note? And then minutes. So the recommendation that the commission waive the reading and approve minutes from the regular meeting of October 23rd.
Make the motion.
Second.
Ayes? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so moved. And now we are ready to move on to our trees. So we have our new Supervisor Slack. Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you, Chair McGill and Commissioners. The first Street Tree Advisory Committee item for review is located at 1201 Del Oro Avenue. They're requesting the removal of 2 trees, 1 Brisbane box and 1 Southern Magnolia, and then also acknowledging the relocation of 1 King Palm. It will be moved a few feet from its existing location and kept on site. The applicant's requesting the removal of the Brisbane box and the Southern Magnolia due to construction of the existing property. The property is going to be going through extensive property renovations and will encroach upon both trees. The Southern Magnolia towards the front of the property is pretty close to the footprint of the actual building. It's going to require some shoring, and they're actually putting a basement in, so pretty extensive excavation within the drip line of that specific tree. And then there's improvements on the backside of the property, as well as a required storm water filtration device in the vicinity of the Brisbane box. Those were all listed in the application as reasons for removal. The committee reviewed the application, reviewed the trees on site, and made a motion to support the removal of the magnolia, as well as the relocation of the king palm, and to deny the Brisbane box without prejudice. During the review, the committee felt that while there were improvements that were occurring within the vicinity of the Brisbane box, that it was not causing detrimental damage to the tree. The work seemed to occur outside of the critical root zone, and they had made the comment that they would like to have the applicant come back with some additional information, including engineering details, to have a better understanding of the full impact to that specific tree. Additionally, they made the comment that the commission they determined the commission could make the finding that a reasonable and practical development of the property on which the Southern Magnolia is located requires its removal as a finding for the item.
Any questions?
Do we have a speaker for this?
We do.
Okay. I'd like to.
Would you like to hear from the
Yeah,
speaker first?
I would.
Okay. Okay, so we actually have two people. The first one, I believe, is probably you, Mr. Aaron Carroll. Yes.
Thank you. If I could submit a drawing I've done between the Street Tree Advisory Committee and now, to there's 4 copies in here. Okay,
You will have 2 minutes.
understood.
Okay, so this might not work very well. How about I split into you guys, and then one over to you guys.
So Aaron
Okay.
Carroll, landscape architect for the project. So the drawing I just submitted to all of you, the Street Tree Advisory Committee did not have a chance to review this drawing. I've done it between our meeting and now to examine the impact to the Brisbane box tree. So what's going on with this property is the blue line you see is the edge of the basement that's going to be part of the house remodel. They have to dig 5 feet out from that blue line, which is the orange line.
That, there, yeah.
Yes, the 5 feet out from the blue line is the orange line, and that's the excavation for the basement construction. And then from there, we've got a 5-foot vertical soil wall, and then a 2-to-1 slope going to existing grade. There's the orange area you see on the plan is area where permeable pavers will be installed. The excavation for that is 14.5 inches. And the blue lines you see are stormwater drains, and those are 2 feet below grade. And at the stormwater box at the southeast corner of the site, they need to excavate 4 feet out from the edge of that. So that's that red area you see. And also there's a new stone wall going along La Marina, which will require a minor amount of excavation as well. And that's the red area. And there's also a section drawing at the bottom of that that shows in red the areas around the tree that will be impacted. So I've calculated that there's actually a 60% under the drip line will be impacted by the construction.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And you said the Street Tree Committee has not seen this information. Is that correct? Okay. We do have, I'll get the hang of it. We do have a second speaker, and it is Bob Cunningham, and you are here to represent STAC, it appears.
That's correct, Madam Chair. Bob Cunningham, representing Street Tree Advisory Committee. Our position on this is a little bit complicated because this project should have come to this commission and prior to this, the Street Tree Advisory Committee, before it got into the process and got approval by the Single Family Design Board. That being said, we're now more or less given the choice of yes or no on a project that, essentially has been approved. In our opinion, looking at the tree and looking at the site, the tree should not be in jeopardy. It would seem like the project could be redesigned to accommodate the tree. And I think the Street Tree Advisory Committee would appreciate the opportunity to review this plan, see exactly what is being proposed, and then again comment, because as I said, the project is not built, it's designed, but it could be redesigned to accommodate this tree. And as you can see, this tree is a beautiful specimen. it's got an impact not only on this property, but on the neighborhood, and its loss would be a loss to the whole neighborhood. Thank you.
Well, kind of a question, kind of a comment. Without prejudice, we could separate out these trees and send this one back to stack. I mean, I'm looking at these plans and I'm not an arborist, so I don't know what the impact on this tree would be. And so it would be my preference to let the stack advisor be able to see it. But thank you for the extra information. It does make a difference. It clarifies some of the impacts, and I think, there are going to be some. I'd also do not want to see the applicant stuck between boards. It's not a comfortable position. It's not fair that our process isn't working, that they're penalized for it. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other questions? Are you prepared to make a motion? I have to say I agree with Commissioner Longstreet that it seems that with respect to the Brisbane box and this information, of course, which we are not the experts, that it seems reasonable that this go back to stack.
I guess I do have a question for the applicant. Where do you stand in your process?
They're starting demolition next week.
Next week, okay. Okay. That is a kind of a curveball. To the arborist, have you, Mr. Slack, have you had a chance to review these plans at all?
Chair McGill and Commissioner Longstreet, I've had some dialogue with the applicant, but I too did not have an opportunity to review the plans.
So what happens if you start demolition next week and this Brisbane box is not approved for removal?
That tree would obviously stay in place. We can do other demolition and excavation.
So you can demo around it and let this run a hopefully accelerated course?
Yeah.
Okay. And also another question, if it became an issue of safety, you would be able to weigh in on it and determine what needs to be done, correct?
Chair McGill and Commissioner Longstreet, that is correct. As the applicant said, we would hope that they would be able to reprioritize some of the work that's going on to avoid getting into that situation, so that if you do recommend that it goes back to the Street Tree Advisory Committee, that it could be reviewed and then come back for approval at the December 18th meeting of Parks and Recreation Commission.
Because my concern is this is a large tree on the property line. If it becomes unstable, that's an issue. So I guess I would make a motion to approve the recommendation of the Street Tree Advisory Committee for the removal of the Magnolia grandiflora and the relocation of the king palm, and that we send the Brisbane box back to the stack with the new information.
I still had a question, if I may.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The plans were approved as presented, I understand, with the removal at another.
Correct. Single Family Design Board did approve.
Will this
the landscape
tree
plan.
survive the excavation that needs to go on around it? You're talking about 5 feet from the blue line to dig the basement. You're getting awful close to the trunk of the tree.
I mean, the section and the plan kind of tell the story. The one-to-one, the red area in the section drawing is the area that's going to be excavated. And that section is drawn diagonally from the house. In my opinion, yes, I think we're impacting way too much under the drip line. And I did a calculation that came out to 60%.
There was no second to my motion, so you can make the motion. There was no second.
I'd like to alter the motion and approve the removal of both the trees and the relocation of the king palm.
I will second that. Any further discussion?
The one thing is, I would like to see a mitigation for it. If we're going to go this direction, that we would plant, usually it's a tree of 25 feet in height, is that correct? As a replacement? A street tree, something in that area? Well, I just want to see what we... I don't like to craft that kind of thing up here, but I think there should be some mitigation for the loss of these two trees.
Chairman Gill and Commissioner Longstreet, this is, as Committee Member Cunningham mentioned, this is an example of project moving forward without crossing all the T's and dotting the I's through the various advisory boards, particularly as it relates to the trees. So it's really to the commission whether you're willing to work with that or whether you would like to have the Street Tree Advisory Committee weigh in on what you would like as mitigation and or further review of the other tree. You have a motion and a second. You can move forward with that or do a substitute motion.
Yeah, I mean, I take Commissioner Longstreet's point. A mitigation makes sense here. It seems like it's perhaps the way to compromise a bad situation. I also agree with Commissioner Longstreet. It's difficult to ask the applicant to sort of cease and desist now since money has been spent assuming approval of the project. So that does seem a bit unfair. But it seems reasonable to request a tree. How would we go about doing that? Can we just amend the motion to say a street tree or a setback tree to be planted in consultation with the department?
Chair McGill, it's within the commission's purview to attach conditions for your approval. I would caution you on conditioning a street tree without staff evaluation of the appropriateness of the location for a tree and additional assessment. So it would perhaps be more appropriate to look at the property itself in terms of that.
Can we make a vague recommendation as to a replacement tree, simply of stature or size, and not genetics?
Chair McGill and Commissioner Perry, as a matter of practice, we don't dictate the species of tree on private property, but staff are always available to advise an applicant if they would like some information about what type of tree they would plant.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to chime in because I didn't have enough time during my presentation. We are proposing a 36-inch box fruitless olive at the corner of La Marina and Del Oro, and that is within the front setback.
And what canopy, how big does that tree get?
How big does it get long term? About 22, 25 feet high and equal spread.
Well, but the motion does not include the mitigation tree, so I would think we would need to. Oh, it's already in the plan, okay. Okay, well, if the tree's already in the plan, then we can let the motion stand. Though I would like to have it in the motion, that tree gets planted. So do we need to amend to do that?
It's in the approved plans. Excuse me?
Yeah.
It is in the approved plans. It's required by your permitting, so it is already there.
Okay. Well, then
Chair
would say-
McGill, I think
we can stand then.
Mr. Slack would like to make a clarification for you.
Sure.
So, Chair McGill and Commissioners, just to clarify, the Street Tree Advisory Committee and the Parks and Recreation Commission has purview over trees regulated by the Municipal Code 15.24 and the Street Tree Municipal Code 15.20. The Single Family Design Board approved these removals on the plan without getting approval before from the Street Tree Advisory Committee and the Parks and Recreation Commission. So the Street Tree Advisory Committee is only requesting that the applicant come back with more detailed information so that they can analyze this further and then make a thorough decision on the Brisbane box. Certainly, if you wanted to continue on with the motion, we could explore and work with the applicant on a replacement tree located on the property or within the public right-of-way.
Yeah, I think the concern is that the demolition's starting. It's kind of the train has left the station. Mr. Cunningham?
Thank you. Typically, we request a one-for-one mitigation when we're removing trees. So I think there should be a mitigation for removing the Brisbane box. There is an empty parkway strip there. I would appreciate it if you would send this back to the Street Tree Advisory Committee for designation of a parkway tree at least, and potentially mitigation for the removal of that setback tree. Thank you.
So we have a seconded a motion, but why don't we, well, you can amend, yeah.
You can amend, and then she
You
has
have a
to
motion
agree.
and a second. It's to the commission what you want to do next.
Well, so you proposed, I seconded. I would say if you want to amend, I'll agree to your amendment, and then we'll.
Mr. Cunningham, would you help me with this? We would like. Mr. Cunningham, please assist me. We would like a replacement tree in the setback within the curbing.
Well,
What is it you're asking for? It seems reasonable.
What we would like to see is one-for-one replacement of the trees being removed on the property. Failing that, again, there is an empty parkway strip there where we could accommodate at least one street tree.
That's the term I was looking for. So a replacement in the parkway strip.
I think that would be acceptable.
Okay. I'll amend the motion to include a replacement tree in the parkway strip.
Now, my understanding, the one tree already has a mitigation tree in it, so there is already one tree being replaced, so it's just an additional replacement tree.
This parkway tree would be in this, location close to where the Brisbane box is now. So we're losing the Brisbane box. We would replace it with a parkway tree, within 20 feet.
Do we have a motion? Okay,
Thank you.
I will second that.
Chair McGill, would you read the motion again for Ms. Navarez? Because it's unclear whether the commission amended the motion or amended his motion to accommodate your discussion.
I will do my best. Okay. Commissioner Perry has moved that we approve the applicant's proposal to remove the Brisbane box and the magnolia and move the king palm on the condition that the tree already approved in their plan is planted, and that a further parkway tree is planted and the species to be determined in consultation with the department. And pursuant to 152490, that it's a reasonable and practical development of the property. Does that work? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
I'm going to say no.
Oh, no,
But, yeah.
okay. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Moving on to the next one.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, item 2 is located at 407 La Marina. The applicant is requesting the removal of 1 Chinese elm that is a street tree and 2 Mexican fan palms that are located within the front setback. The applicant is requesting the removal of all 3 trees as a result of improvements to the property. They're going to be redeveloping the driveway and widening it, which will impact the root zone of all 3 of the trees. The committee reviewed the application, reviewed the trees on site, made a motion to support the removal of all 3 trees with the condition that the street tree that 3 new king palms be planted in the public right-of-way to offset the removal of the Chinese elm, and also a condition that a tree be planted within the front setback that can achieve 20 to 40 feet at height at maturity.
The committee determined that the commission could make the finding that a reasonable and practical development of the property requires its removal as a finding for this item.
Okay. We do have a couple of speakers. If you want to hear from them, Commissioner wants to hear from them before we take discussion. The first speaker is, I was about to call you Richard Karen, but it's Karen Richard. And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Karen Richard, homeowner. Appreciate the recommendation by the Street Tree Advisory Committee and requesting the 1-to-1 mitigation. The recommendation is to replant 4 trees for the removal of 3. My fear is that our property is already quite lush and that it would look overgrown with an additional tree in there. And I have additional photos of the property too.
Okay.
I'll also add, since we've been living there over the past 7 years, we've replanted several trees on the property, including 3 in the front yard and 2 in the back, all palms.
You're counting down, so I don't know if that's...
Oh, that's it.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for 3 palms versus 2?
Yeah, that's the question. Oh, and we also have Bob.
Chair McGill and Commissioner Longstreet, I think when the Street Tree Advisory Committee were on site and they were evaluating the parkway length, it made sense the spacing made sense probably about 15 feet on center in front of the property to use the king palm, which I neglected to mention is a designated street tree for that section of La Marina.
And we do actually have Bob Cunningham here with a speaker slip in, who I'm sure can speak to that.
Thank you. As Nathan mentioned, we felt that the spacing at 15 feet on center was appropriate for the king palm. It's a pretty small tree as palms go. And I think we felt that the biomass replacement of 3 king palms for 2 Mexican fan palms was appropriate and equal, and that the replacement setback tree of 20 to 40 foot height would essentially replace the biomass of the elm. I understand the applicant's concerns about planting too many trees, but I think in this case, the king palm is, as I said, a pretty small tree in terms of its visual impact and its biomass. And again, the committee felt that that was an appropriate decision.
How tall does the king palm get? I mean, how big will it get?
They grow forever. There are some, I think it's Upper Santa Barbara Street or perhaps Upper Anacapa Street, in parkways that are probably 50 feet tall, close to 50 feet tall. Mostly you'll see king palms get to about 30, 40 feet maximum. It takes a long time. They grow maybe 6 inches a year. So they're a fairly small tree and very thin trunk.
Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. They do have a somewhat landscaped front yard, and adding a shade tree in there of some sort with a decent biomass, is that going to just change what they have right now, which they've chosen? That's a tough one to me to. I mean, I think their front yard looks lovely.
Uh-huh. It will change it. We haven't seen a landscape design for the front yard, so it's hard for us to determine whether or not what they're proposing or what they will propose will be suitable in our minds. You make a good point. I think we would be probably happy with the 3 street trees and let the applicant decide what she wants to do in her front yard with regard to replacing the Mexican fan palms.
Thank you. That answers my question.
I guess that answers my question too, because I actually aesthetically I understand that 3 palms kind of makes sense in that parkway, but I take the point that the added canopy tree might not make sense with the landscaping. Given that, I'm prepared to make a motion. Thank you. Let's see if I can do this right. So I would say that I would like to make a motion that the commission approve the removal of the Chinese elm and the fan palm on the condition that the 3 king palm street trees be planted.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next, we move on to 3139 Seacliff.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, at 3139 Seacliff, the applicant is requesting the removal of 19 trees located within the front setback. The removals are required as part of a comprehensive soil remediation plan in place on the parcel. The property was the site of an old orchid nursery where they used pesticides, and now there's extensive soil contamination. They had a private arborist survey the entire site and focus on our portion, the trees located within the front setback. And there's extensive removal of soil near several of the trees, the 19 being proposed for removal. And as part of that, it necessitates removal of the 19 trees. For reference, there's 9 lemon gum eucalyptus being removed, 8 myoporum, 2 Victorian box trees, for a total of 19 trees located within the front setback along both Braemar and Seacliff Drive being proposed for removal. In addition to the removal, the applicant is proposing 3 replacement trees On the initial application, they were using a combination of California sycamore and coast live oak. Due to conversations with adjacent property owners who would like to see consistent tree species used, they've agreed to use all coast live oaks. The committee reviewed the application, reviewed the trees on site, and made a motion to approve the removal of all 19 trees with the condition that the 3 replacement trees be coast live oak. In addition to that, there was a comment made that if additional trees within the front setback require removal as a result of excavation, that they be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio with the coast live oak. If there are any questions, the applicant is present, and the committee determined the commission could make the finding that a reasonable and practical development of the property on which the trees are located require their removal could be used as a finding for this item.
Does anybody have any questions? No.
I would move that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee for the removal of 19 various trees at 3139 Seacliff Drive, and the replacement with 3 coast live oaks.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And then we have 437 Northridge Road.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, at 437 Northridge Road, the applicant is requesting the removal of an Italian stone pine, which is located within the front setback of the property. The applicant listed trouble-growing plants as a primary reason for tree removal. The committee reviewed the application. The tree on site determined that the tree removal would be a material loss to the community and made a motion to deny the removal.
I'll make a I'll make a motion. I don't do that very often.
Go for it.
I make a motion that we approve or deny the removal of the Pinus pinea, Italian stone pine.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Or discussion at all?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And now we have the street tree master plan changes.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, the next item for review is a alternative species designation for the 300 to 400 blocks of Paseo del Descanso. Previously, at a August 2019 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, a tree located on the side of the property at Paseo del Descanso was approved for removal with the condition that a new street tree be planted within the parkway along Paseo del Descanso. The Street Tree Advisory Committee, when they did their site visit, noted that the parkway width was quite narrow, and the existing species profile did not support the existing designation, which included Canary Island pine. After review, the Street Tree Advisory Committee made the recommendation to suggest desert willow as an alternative species designation for the 300 to 400 blocks of Paseo del Descanso.
Are there any questions or discussion? Would anyone care to make a motion? If not, I will.
I'll make a motion that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for adoption of the Canary.
Second.
Wait, I'm losing it here.
Desert willow.
The desert willow as a co-designee on the 300 to 400 block of Paseo del Descanso.
Now I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And San Pascal.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, the last street tree advisory item for review is a alternative species designation for the 500 to 800 blocks of San Pasqual. I will preface this item and say that due to timing issues with the upcoming Public Works project, we were unable to have this item reviewed by the Street Tree Advisory Committee, but we did mention our intent to use this species. Initially, several months ago, about probably 8 months ago, as we were planning to participate in an overlay project with Public Works that would include tree planting, there was a designation within this 500 to 800 block to use southern magnolia, which is commonly used throughout town. Within the last 6 months, we've encountered a new pest known as tulip tree scale, which is particularly challenging and very problematic, and we've determined that, at least in the interim, we're going to take as many steps as possible to try to prevent its use within the public right-of-way due to the challenges managing the pest. So as a result of that, we've made the recommendation to co-designate Natchez hybrid crepe myrtle for the 500 to 800 blocks to use in lieu of southern magnolia. And there is an existing designation for crepe myrtle on the 900 block of San Pasqual, so this would add some consistency.
I was going to say that, and they're pretty trees on that block. They seem to grow well in the narrow parkways and do well in the neighborhood. So, thank you. I like the consistency.
I mean, just a real quick question. In a very long ago previous life, I lived in a place where crepe myrtles were very much a standard of landscaping, and they had their own pest problems. I take it we've got a hybrid here that doesn't get all the fly problems that I grew up with.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, trees get bugs, there's no doubt about it. These hybrid crepe myrtles have a really high resistance to powdery mildew, which is a common problem, especially like in their native southeast region. You'll still get aphids and things like that on these, but it's not problematic. You can find those sort of critters on most trees in town.
Well, I would make a motion to adopt the designation for the 500 to 800 block of San Pasqual for the Natchez hybrid crepe myrtle.
Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay. So we are now on to Director's Report. Thank you.
Chair McGill and Commissioners, just very quickly, because you do have one last item, the Capital Improvement Projects update for information. Unless we no longer have a quorum, which means we can. Just very quickly, Commissioner Longstreet and Commissioner Lesnar Buxton mentioned our annual department breakfast and awards event. It's always a fun time. This year we had it on Halloween, so we had a number of staff that came out in pretty cool, neat costumes, and we also had staff recognize each other through their teamwork awards. Your staff report outlines the 4 staff that received nominations from their colleagues, including Ernie Rodriguez, who's a lead park ranger, Jessica Martinez, who's an administrative specialist, Annette, and I'm not going to get her name pronounced correctly, but I'll give it a go, Guadarrama, pretty close, clerical assistant at Franklin, and then Levette Kyle, who also works in the Parks Division. I'd also note that every year the director provides an Outstanding Service Award to an employee, and this year Erin Markey, with the recommendations from the management team, received that award. Erin works in the Creeks Division as an associate planner. She's been with the department for about 3 years, and she's done a tremendous job at the Arroyo Open Space. She also managed the Barger Canyon restoration. She oversees our Arundo removal programs and the maintenance of our existing restoration sites, and she's moved forward her projects expeditiously and with a level of professionalism that really is noteworthy. And then also we had a team award this year, and that went to the staff that oversee and lead our capital projects efforts. In the last 10 years, the Parks and Recreation Department has made tremendous progress in reinvesting in our Parks and Recreation facilities, and we've done a lot of that work in-house. It's been a key objective in order to advance those, and the Commission's played a significant role in your recommendations, as well as our opportunity to secure funding for those projects. So the three staff include George Thompson, Justin Van Mullum, and Kevin Strasberg for their work effort. So with that, I just want to wrap it up with our olive planting at the Mission Historical Park. This is a project we started with the Santa Barbara Garden Club back in 2013 in fits and starts, and finally it all came together, and we had a really nice celebration with them Monday morning at the location. If you go by, you will see the new olive trees. We're still waiting for the frame for our interpretive sign, but we used the opportunity to make a significant upgrade to the old sign that had been there for probably a little too long, and then relocate the boulder honoring the trees that were planted in recognition of those that lost their lives in World War I. So 100 years later, 5 new trees planted. It's a great opportunity to partner with another organization. They fully funded the hard costs of the project, and the city providing the staff support as in kind for it. And that concludes my director's report.
Great, thank you. So congratulations to all of the award winners this year. Well-deserved, well-earned, and actually congratulations to everyone in your department. I'm continue to be just so impressed by the dedication and commitment to everybody in your staff. And the Olive Garden is one of my favorite places in Santa Barbara, so I look forward to seeing the new trees.
And I would just say thank you to the staff that planned the breakfast, because it was great. You did a good job, Rose, and your team.
Chair McGill and Commissioner Longstreet, that's a very good point. It is a staff committee that pretty much pulls the whole thing together, and there's a few of them, including Ms. Narvaez, that pull a lot of extra weight to make it happen. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are going to skip the Central Library Plaza renovation presentation until next time, and we will move on to the capital improvement projects update.
Good evening, Commission. My name is George Thompson. I'm the Parks Capital Project Supervisor. This is going to be a fairly quick update on our most active projects for the department currently. We have a broad collection of facilities, buildings, parks, open spaces, and really the improvements that are outlined are contained in the city's CIP, the Capital Improvement Program. It's a 5-year program. We have 40 projects in there with an identified funding need of over $100 million. Not all of those projects are funded, obviously, but the first 2 years are really the projects that get funding and that we're moving forward and will be the focus of tonight. I think everybody is aware of the Cabrillo Pavilion project, and we're really moving this project forward and estimate a completion in January 2020, so just a couple months out. The current status includes a big focus on the interior finishes, paint, lighting. The restaurant build-out is happening. If you walk by the site, you'll see a lot of the exterior finishes going up, the landscaping, and the contractors starting to pull out from the parking lots. Here's just a couple photos of the site. I do want to note on the left photo the care that was taken for the extensive palm collection there. You can see the new walkways, the new roof, and then on the beach side of the building along the promenade, the contractor is finishing up the exterior work, and in doing so is taking care to protect existing work that's already been completed. So it is a bit of a delicate procedure now to back out of the finished product. Next month we'll be giving a more detailed update on the project, so please look forward to that. The Mackenzie Park Restroom and Concession Building Renovation Project is one that we're gearing up to get our final building permit and then go out to bid in the next month. And so if you're not familiar with this facility, it's a shared facility between our youth baseball program that serves Santa Barbara Pony League. They operate their concession stand out of it, which is a big revenue maker for the organization. And then it serves as the general restroom building for the park itself. And of course, with the opening of the off-leash dog facility there, we do have a lot more use at the park in a positive way. It is a complete facility upgrade, so we've got accessibility issues we need to address. We need to add capacity due to the use of the park. We're looking at the existing roof and seeing if it needs a full replacement or if we can do some minor repairs. We do need to spend money on the sewer lateral, and so this is often an item that isn't really looked at publicly, but it's a critical need and often pricey. We're looking globally at the baseball operation and what they need. We have currently a $400,000 construction estimate when it's all said and done, but really when we get the construction bids, that'll be the true determination of what the market will bear. And we're looking to start construction in January 2020, or at least the bidding process, really, and try to wrap up construction before spring ball starts for Pony. So just a quick overview of the building. You don't need to pay attention to all the details here, but I do want to point out on the left we have a photo of the existing men's facility. You can see the condition it's in. It's not accessible. It's not particularly supportive of the number of users that we have at the park with just a single toilet and single urinal. The majority of the building actually originally was a shower locker facility and has since been converted into storage that's primarily used for pony baseball. And then on the left portion of the building here, you can see the concession stand area, which again doesn't meet today's standards and health standards code and accessibility. So the proposal is to do what we've done at other restroom facilities throughout the city, really go in and update all of the finishes, all of the fixtures. The photo on the left is the Cabrillo Ballpark restroom, which was recently renovated. Turned out really nice with epoxy flooring, new stainless steel, and new fixtures. So for the floor plan, we're actually proposing to use the majority of that storage space and converting that into the restroom block. So you can see we're adding capacity there as well. And then in the concession stand area, we're working closely with Pony Baseball to ensure that that is a much more usable space, adding another service window and so forth. The Ortega Park Master Plan, I know the Commission has seen this several times over the past year, but I'm happy to report that we submitted the development application to the city's Community Development Department just last week. And so that really starts the process to get to Planning Commission and the environmental review process. And really the focus is to get us primed for submitting a grant application to fund construction. So all of these things need to fall into place in order to be eligible for one of the Prop 68 grants that's available at the state level. So we'll be coming back to the Commission in early spring to do compatibility findings, and then going on to the Planning Commission for their review and CEQA. We do have $250,000 available in our current fiscal year budget to advance the next phase of the design, and we'll be working closely with our design group to spec that out and identify what needs to happen on the next stage, and that'll be a City Council item. The Thousand Steps Repair Project is also progressing. We have proposed a short-term concrete repair, which we've bid out, received prices for. We're currently doing the permitting for that, and anticipate in December into January we'll be working with the contractor to roll that out, obviously letting the neighbors know through direct outreach what's happening there. And that's really to go in on the bottom portion of the staircase and just do some concrete patchwork to allow safer passage. With that being said, we do have the larger long-term repair still moving forward. We've been through the development application review process. We've gotten comments back from city staff on what they need to see for the next phase of the permitting, which For this project, it is a little bit more involved than most projects because we're in the coastal zone. We do need to go to the Planning Commission for a coastal development permit as well as the California Coastal Commission. So that'll be our spring agenda, is getting that permitting completed, and anticipate construction occurring in fall 2020. Bonet Park renovation, we've done a presentation on this project for the commission, but in short, it is a full park renovation, upgrading the rec facilities, the restroom, access to the park, increasing amenities such as picnic areas. We've got landscape upgrades, irrigation. We do have a $1.3 million grant application that's already been submitted. We haven't heard back, and it really could be in the next, I'd say, 6 weeks that we get word back if the state is adhering to their calendar. We also have $300,000 of community development block grant that's already secured through the last funding cycle, and that really is going to support the restroom renovation. And so what staff is proposing to do is to move forward with the restroom renovation as quickly as possible and not wait for the larger project because the funding's uncertain for that. We have money in hand. We've got a building permit for the restroom project, so we'll be rolling that out shortly. And then for the larger project, that'll be next summer into fall 2020. The Dwight Murphy Field Master Plan is moving forward. We have a preliminary design contract going to City Council next month, and that will really fund the next phase of on-site design as well as construction documents for the public right-of-way improvements. We've completed a partnership agreement with the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation, our co-project sponsor, with all of the improvements there focused primarily on the accessible playground, universally accessible playground, but certainly other amenities too. And as we move to this next stage of design, we'll be doing really focused stakeholder outreach to the neighbors, to the zoo. MTD has a bus stop there, hotels and business owners in the surrounding neighborhood, and then also working with a variety of city staff because there's other folks other than just the Parks and Rec department involved with this. Now that the police station has been advanced to the next step, we're also moving forward with the permitting for the Davis Center. We're advancing into the final permit stage, as well as submitting a grant for the Community Development Block Grant Program to fund a portion of the project. We're anticipating this project will be about $3 million for the full facility renovation, interior and exterior. The CDBG grant won't cover that entire amount, so we'll be looking for other funding sources and potentially phasing options. But if everything falls in place, we're anticipating construction in fall 2020 if fully funded. The West Beach Splash Playground is another project that we're working on, and we'll be seeing some redesign of the concept plan that the Commission has reviewed, that the Historic Landmarks Commission has reviewed. We also put that plan through the development application review process and got some good feedback. And so right now we're focused on redesigning the concept plan to, one, reduce potential impacts to nesting birds. You heard from the public speakers at the beginning. That's certainly a concern for staff and for our project partners. But also overall, the construction cost of the project, we want to bring it down to a cost that's a little bit more palatable and realistic to make sure that it gets funded and built in a timely manner. So we'll be revising the plan with our landscape architect team in spring 2020. This project does require a coastal development permit, so we'll be resubmitting to the development application review team process and getting in line to go to Planning Commission. So it'll be a public process, and we'll be certainly reaching out to our stakeholder list as that progresses. The last project I want to talk about is the Parma Park Sustainability Trail Plan. And I also want to recognize the retirement of Kathy Fry. We have hired a new natural areas planner, Carla Navarro Woods, who came to us from the state Fish and Wildlife Department, California Fish and Wildlife. She's accomplished in land management, in trail plans, so we're looking forward to advancing this plan. We were just at City Council for an increase in the contract for various technical studies that we need to complete the plan, archaeology, biology, and arborist report. That's now in place, and so we're working with our trail designer to get the plan ready for a permit submittal in January 2020, just around the corner. Aside from the permit aspects of the project, which include the use of heavy equipment in a sensitive habitat such as Parma Park, we do have some minor work that can occur via hand tools and just our own in-house labor or contracted labor that falls under the category of regular maintenance. And so we don't need to go through that additional permitting step for kind of day in, day out maintenance. And so we'll be rolling that out in spring 2020, provided we have good soil moisture. And we started that today with soil moisture coming down. So for the larger construction project, we're looking at 2021 because we have to go through that permitting process and make sure that all of our outreach is complete with neighbors and stakeholders, and then roll out in the spring of 2021. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Just a comment. Some of our commissioners are new and maybe don't know that we're blessed to have a trust fund a trust fund for Parma Park that allows us to maintain it in a way we don't always get to, and that staff plans go before an outside party that looks at it. And if you've ever been up there, it's such a jewel, and it was something that neighbors really appreciated the maintenance that's been done on that property when we had things. I think it was the Tea Fire that saved some homes because of the maintenance done on Parma Park. So it's a really special place, and we're very blessed to have what we have to support it.
Any questions? Comments? I mean, I would only, say I'm really pleased to see so many projects that impact so many people across the community going forward. I mean, it's kind of something for everybody. I'm actually particularly pleased to see us moving forward on the Davis Center. And I think that's good to kind of start getting that off the dime. So that's great as far as I'm concerned. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have a question. Is the concession building at Mackenzie Park the same building as the polling place?
Chair McGill and Commissioner Lesnar-Buxton, so there's actually two buildings now at Mackenzie Park on the lower park portion. So there's the Mackenzie Center, which is the building closer to the parking lot, and that is the reservable party space. And then the concession building is situated in between the two baseball diamonds, where the public restroom is currently.
Thank you very much. And you probably don't have this in your budget, but I got to vote at Mackenzie Park because I live up the street from it, and it would make a big difference to me if you had a big old sign on the building.
Great, that's something we'll look at it as identifying the building and its use.
Thank you so much. And also, if we remodel the Davis Center, do you have a contingency plan for where the programs will be moved?
Chair McGill and Commissioner Lesnar Buxton, yes, we are fortunate in that we do have the West Side Center in close proximity to the Davis Center and then also Carrillo Recreation. Clearly, relocating right on site would be ideal, but we don't have that option when it comes to the Davis Center. One of the things we are looking at is how to phase the project, which we might have to do anyway, related to funding exterior and then interior. In a perfect world, we'll get it fully funded and do the whole thing at the same time. So there will be a period of time where programs will have to be relocated to our other areas.
Thank you. And unless there's any new business? Nope. If in that case, then I believe we are at adjournment. Thank you very much.